If comic pros read Stop Simping in the Workplace, maybe the industry wouldn't be in the dire straits it's in right now.
Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop Simping in the Workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere.
I was watching a Comics Matter Your Boy Zack video where he went into a rant talking about how all of these grossly unqualified female creators who were a part of that milkshake group need to be fired. Now, Zack wants to say that one of the problems with the comic book industry are all of these grossly unqualified women, but I have to disagree with him on that because to me, the problem isn't the grossly unqualified women, it's the simps who went out here and hired them. Now, when it comes to a simp, he's a guy who looks to submit and defer to women in an effort to gain their favor and approval. And when you have a workplace simp in place, you're not going to get structure and order because these men are not interested in leading. No, these guys are interested in following the lead of a woman. And because they're interested in following the lead of a woman, you cannot get any sort of structure established for those women, nor can you establish any sort of order or direction at any company they are in. And I go in depth on this in my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace, which you can find on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, and also find it in other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And when I look at the whole situation with the comic book industry and many of these grossly unqualified female creators that have been hired into the business, I can't say that the women are the problem. No, the problem are all of the simp men who went out here and hired all of these women. Because if we were to fire all of the milkshake girls and all of the other grossly unqualified women from the comic book industry today, what would happen is that the simps who currently are in editorial, what they would do is go out here and hire more grossly unqualified women because most of these men do not know anything about running a business. Moreover, the only thing that these guys think with is the head between their legs and not the head between their ears, because the only reason why they go out here and hire grossly unqualified women like those who were a part of the milkshake group is because these guys are basically thinking with the wrong head. And as they think with the wrong head, what these guys do is go out here and create a covert contract between themselves and the women in the workplace, believing that if they hire these women, there may be a possibility that one of these women may possibly want to go out on a date with him, or in the most extreme cases, may possibly want to go out here and find a place in the copy room, drop the skirt and the skid mark jockey thong, and allow him to put the carbon rod in the atomic waste reactor and allow him to participate in 1 to 2 minutes of nuclear fusion. That's basically what these editors at these comic companies are thinking when they hire these women who in many cases have no real experience in writing, no real experience in editing, no real experience in life. They are basically thinking about possibly trying to get an opportunity at getting the draws, and all they do is go out here and get the comic book industry into a dire situation because of these guys going out here simping and trying to gain the favor of these women. What has happened is comic sales have basically plummeted to abysmal levels, and the industry is basically teetering on collapse. And as it teeters on collapse, we have a lot of guys like Zack saying, oh, we need to fire the women. No, I say go even further and fire the men, because nothing is going to change when you have workplace simps in the workplace. Because a workplace simp is not a man who can go out here and lead a company. No, he can't lead a company because he's too busy following women. Moreover, a workplace simp is a guy who has no focus on business because he's so focused on women. And because he's so focused on women, he can't see where he's taking the business as related to its overall direction. Now, a business person like myself understands that the goal of a business is to go out here and make money. But with a workplace simp, he's not thinking about making money. He's thinking about trying to get social currency from women. And because he's thinking about trying to get social currency from women, he doesn't understand he's undermining the economic value of that business, trying to go out here and gain the favor of women, not understanding that a business runs on money. And that's where we have the issues with the comic book industry. A lot of these guys, because they work in corporate America and have these jobs working at Marvel, DC, and in the comic book industry at other companies like Image and Dynamite, they are like, oh, I'm in this comic book job. I've got this clout as related to social media and working in comics, and they're not thinking about the bottom line of the business like I do over here at SJS Direct. Now, over here at SJS Direct, I'm thinking about how much money I can make as related to sales, and I have to be very careful about who I commission for covers or who I commission for art, because I want the art to be appealing to people. Moreover, I want the art to meet a standard for quality. So when I go out here and I'm looking to hire people, I'm looking to hire based on what a person's page looks like, and I'm looking to hire based on the page, because if I don't have quality pages, I can't go out here and sell any books to the customer. So you've got guys out here, they're thinking, oh, I'll hire somebody like a Heather Antos or a Vita Ayala, and their work isn't good, their sales numbers aren't very good, and they're not looking at the picture of them objectively. No, they're thinking about getting brownie points on social media and getting likes and clicks, but I'm thinking about sales and getting the numbers up. So when I go out here and contact someone, I'm looking to find somebody who will go out here and get the attention of customers. And I'm also, when I have people coming to me and I have to assess their work, I'm looking at how that work is going to be able to enhance the business as related to sales. So when I go out here and I look at somebody's work, it's based on the merits of what's presented in front of me. I'm looking at the quality of the work, and that's the way a man operates or a woman operates, because Jeanette Kahn at DC Comics, when she was around, operated on the same standard. And that's what's missing today, because when you have a workplace simp, they're not thinking about maintaining any sort of standards as related to house style, as related to making sure the art is on model, as related to model sheets, making sure that the character stories are consistent. No, for these modern day simp creators, it's all about trying to please and appease, these women, thinking that, oh, if I please and appease these women and I get the likes on Twitter, this will be a win for them, but it's a loss for the customer who hasn't been buying comics since about 2016 or so, since the all-new, all-different Marvel and the New 52 Convergence came along, where we saw another steep decline since the decline of the 90s. And we're seeing this steep decline because we have editorial that is all about simping and tricking, not understanding that when you trick the customer out of a quality product, you're not going to be around much longer. Now, examples to me of the simping that's been going on is DC's editorial when I look at the work of Megan Fitzmartin. I mean, Megan Fitzmartin unilaterally decided that she was going to change Tim Drake's sexual orientation and decided she was going to do this by herself without editorial stepping in, and that shows me the simps in editorial had no backbone or stones, because 23 years ago, I remember when Devin Grayson wanted to disgrace Dick Grayson, also known as Nightwing, by putting him in a place where he would be violated by women. And editorial, I believe Paul Levitz was there at the time, quickly stepped in and fired Devin Grayson because he valued the character's integrity. He knew how important Nightwing was to the brand of DC Comics because he was the number 3 character over at DC next to Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. I mean, he was like number 3 or number 4 there. So they quickly said, you're not going to do this to this character, shut her down, and terminated her. And the same thing happened with a writer who proposed the sexual violation of Wonder Woman. That a writer proposed that idea, and that writer was quickly fired just for proposing the idea, because at that time, editorial was filled with men and women who had standards for the characters, wanted to maintain integrity of the characters, maintain integrity of the brand, and because there were people in charge who wanted to maintain standards, they were shutting these creators down because they understood that an editor's job was to be the eyes and ears of the public to many of the creators, to let them know how the customers would react to these kinds of radical changes. Unfortunately, what has happened over the last 20 plus years is that we've gotten a lot of beta male simps in editorial positions at places like Marvel and DC and Image and Dynamite, and they have been just lowering the standards at these comic companies. And as they've been lowering the standards, they have been out here looking to not go out here and make the best comics. No, all they've been looking to do is get the attention of women that they hire, talking about they're doing it for diversity and inclusion, which is complete BS. What they're actually doing is hiring women because, 1, they want to pay the women lower wages, and 2, they want to hire women to symbolically make it look like it's about diversity and inclusion passively, but aggressively it's about trying to find the cheapest person they can find, because if you hire a man for the exact same job, guess what? He's going to demand standards, and because he demands standards as related to his paycheck, he's not going to settle for some $90 or $60 a page. He's going to demand $110 to $150 a page. So that's one of the things that leads to a lot of these guys going to hire these women, and these simps looking to hire women because they don't care really, again, about the quality of their products. No, when you have a workplace simp in a place, they don't care about maintaining any standard. They don't care about maintaining any sort of order. They don't care about making any sort of rules or guidelines for anyone to follow. And this is why you see so much poor quality coming out of comics companies like Dynamite with that horrible Victory comic with the unfinished and scratchy art, or you see over at Marvel and DC just really uninspired kind of art, because editorial is so busy just looking at women, looking to chase them, not understanding that while they're out here chasing women, they are basically walking away from the business overall, not understanding that all the money they're putting in is having them take all these losses. But I understand over here at SJS Direct, every dollar I put in has to be towards a standard of quality, has to be towards maintaining a standard for art standards as related to making sure the art is consistent, trying to make sure that the art stays on model as related to my model sheets and designs, and make sure everything works within parameters of standards, and make sure that the stories are of a house style where everything is consistent. So everything that's happening in an Isis or Eastine book and a John Haynes book flows together consistently, so that when you read each of the books in the SJS Direct universe, all the books are flowing together, so you get a consistent world where events that are happening in one book impact books in another. That's what happens when you have a man in charge or a woman in charge who is competent. But when you have a group of simps in charge, you don't get any sort of competence. No, what you get is chaos, and that's what we have right now. And that's why I say I gotta disagree with Zack on this one. Firing the women won't change anything, because you're going to have the same simps in place. And the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. And if you keep hiring simps, what they're going to do is keep hiring women, because a simp is very afraid of a man. Simps are afraid of men and true to the game women who are about their work, because they fear being held to a standard, because these guys don't have any standard at all. No, with a simp, when he's in the workplace, his only standard is getting phone numbers and getting draws. So him being on the job, he's not focused on the goals that you have. He has no passion for the goals that you have. No, he's only about getting the attention of the women and not about meeting the work standards established by men. So when I listen to Zack and I listen to his rant talking about, oh, the women are the problem. No, not the women. It's the men, because a true to the game man is going to hire qualified, competent people, and they're going to ask to look at your portfolio, look at your pages, look at your previous work, and also look at your samples. That's what a seasoned pro like myself does. I mean, before I go to hire an artist, I'm looking at their work on DeviantArt, looking at their work on IG. I'm looking at their work if I want to hire them for a comic or a cover. I'm looking at that work to make sure that it's up to standard. I'm making sure that the work is on point, because this is my money, and it's the money. And before you guys spend your money, I need to make sure that it's worth it. But the problem, again, when you have a company and it's run by simps, they're not thinking about how much things cost, because for them, it's all about the Twitter likes. It's all about the YouTube views. It's all about these things. And again, these things have no value when you're selling product. When you're selling product, it's all about going out here and trying to get that sale of that book. It's all about getting the customer to see the quality of what's on the page, and a simp ain't thinking about that. No, all he's doing is, again, thinking with the head between his legs and not the one between his ears. And if you want to fix your comic book industry, you really gotta get the simps out of the editorial positions. And once you get the simps out and bring in quality people, maybe they could possibly do something at one time. I don't know about now, because the simps have been there so long and have done so much damage that it's hard to say that anything could be done. But you can't just fire the women if you've got a simp in place, because the simp will just hire more women, and that's not going to get you anywhere at all. No, it won't get you anywhere at all if you've got a simp on your job, because simps do damage when they are in positions of leadership. I mean, this is what happens when you have a simp in a place. He's going to run it right into the ground, because he's not about running the business. He's all about trying to run game on women. And sadly, with the workplace simp, all he does is get played, because usually two things are going to happen. One, the business is going to go into decline. And two, he's going to try to put a move on one of those women. And what that woman is going to do is go out here and run to HR and say that this man sexually harassed her, getting herself a payday at the company's expense. And the company's brand is going to go into decline if they don't go out of business. And this is what happens as related to the simp paradigm in the workplace. So I have to say, the comics YouTube and guys like Zack, you need to read Stop Simping in the Workplace, because Stop Simping in the Workplace will explain to you why you gotta get rid of a simp off your job, because a simp at your job, he's never going to go out here and bring you no results. And that's the measure you have to measure a guy on as related to his work, is his results. And when you look at many of the guys in the comic book industry and even on comics YouTube, when you looking at their results, they sitting up here complaining about women, not holding incompetent men accountable. And I got to look at this whole situation with the comic book industry, and I got to hold the incompetent men accountable for hiring the grossly unqualified women, because they are a reflection of each other. Because grossly unqualified simps will go out here and hire grossly unqualified women, because they don't want to compete with other men who will surpass them. In terms of standards and quality, they don't want to be challenged by other men who will demand better of them. They don't want to compete with other men who will hold them to a higher standard. That is the main reason why the simp will go out here and hire the grossly unqualified woman, because he fears having to deal with a competent man who knows his business. Now, if you want to learn about why you shouldn't go out here and hire a workplace simp and what to identify as related to workplace simp behaviors that will undermine your business, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Stop Simping in the Workplace at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you want to pick up my comics on the SJS Direct imprint, like John Haynes at Death's Door, you can find that comic on paperback on Lulu.com right now for the same price as the 2022 Kickstarter. And if you want to pick up my first digital comic, Esteem No Good Deed, you can find that comic on Kindle for 99 cents on Amazon.com. And if you want to pick up the paper version of that comic, you can pick up that story in Esteem Blast from the Past as a backup story. And if you want to help me be able to make my next SJS Direct comic, which I want to feature with the goddess next door, Isis, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you also want to help me to be able to keep supporting other great independent and mainstream comics by buying comics for comics reviews, you can also send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose. The man who rules the world runs into the irresistible force of a man with nothing to lose in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get the regular and variant editions of John Haynes, the man with nothing to lose on Amazon.com today. Now available on Lulu, John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at Lulu.com today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.